All right, so we're going to draw a business card holder here in SolidWorks, and then we're going to machine it. So I'm going to start off by selecting File and New, or Part. And first thing we're going to do is we're going to create our base feature. So I'm going to start by clicking on the Features tab, select Extruded Boss Base, and pick the plane I want to draw from. I'm going to start drawing on the top plane. It doesn't matter too much, but the view orientations work out better if I orient relative to the top plane. So we're going to do that. And now I'm going to hold this in a vise, and just to make things easier on me, I'm going to use the top center as my 0 point. So I want to draw my first feature relative to the origin. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to select Center Rectangle. And now I've got the rectangle cursor, the drawing rectangles cursor here. And I'm going to hover over the origin right there. And when you do that, you see that the constraint indicator, that's the little yellow box next to the pencil by the eraser, changes to have a yellow background. That means it's going to apply a rule. I'm going to click there, drag out, click again. There's my rectangle. Right click, select Smart Dimension, and I'm going to set my dimensions. On my width here, it's going to be business card holder. Business cards are 2 inches by 3.5 inches. I want to give myself a 1/2 inch margin all the way around. I'm going to make the pocket nice and kind of tightish, but not too tight. So we're going to set some walls up and so forth. But let's say I want a 1/2 inch all the way around. That means that this needs to be 3 inches, and this distance here needs to be 4.5. So we'll type those numbers in, exit the sketch, and this brings us right to the extrusion. I'm just going to grab this arrow here and drag down. If you hover over the ruler, you'll get even numbers. If you hover away from the ruler, you'll get real numbers, but over here it'll snap to ruler values. And I want to go 0.7. The reason I want to go 0.7 is because I'm going to use a 3/8 end mill to cut the outside, and the 3/8 end mill, standard 3/8 end mill, has a cutting depth of 3/4 of an inch. That's pretty standard for milling tools. They generally have a flute length or a cutting edge length of 2 diameters. Sometimes 2.5, but typically 2 diameters. So 0.7 is what I'm going to give for my depth there. We'll select OK, and there we are. Next, I want to create my pocket to hold the cards. So I'm going to click on the top face. And when you do that, when you click on a face, you can create a new sketch. You can also start a feature just like I started last time. I could click on Extruded Cut, pick the face, and start. But I want to show you another way of doing that. So I'm going to click on the face, click to create a new sketch, and that starts a new sketch there. Now, it's sometimes easier to draw orthogonal when you're looking straight at it. So I'm going to hit the space bar and select Normal to, which gets us to an orthogonal view. And let's hit, and we're going to do a center point rectangle again. And I'll go pick on my origin point, just like I did last time, drag out a bit. And what I'm going to do here when I set my dimensions up is I'm going to set up the wall thicknesses. So now I'm going to right click, select Smart Dimension, and set up this wall. I want this to be 3/8. And I want this wall to also be 3/8. Okay. Now, that number 3/8 is actually 0.375, but it's showing me 0.38 because SolidWorks is only using 2 decimal points of precision right now. So I will go, so to change this, I'll go here to my IPS indicator, my units indicator, click on Edit Document Units, and we'll change our decimals to 4 places. And we'll do this for our mass selection and our motion units as well. So 4 dimensions for everything there, 4 units for everything there, and there we are showing 0.375. Okay. Now, for this feature, I could put my fillets in here. I'm going to fillet this. I do need to round the corners off so I can accurately portray what the tool is going to do. But I could fillet this, but I prefer to do the fillets in the feature. I prefer to do the fillets as features, not sketches. It generally works out better for the model. So we're going to exit the sketch, and we will do an extruded cut. So I'm going to spin around a little bit. Easier to do this in a 3D view. The sketch is still selected, so if I hit extruded cut, it'll start on the command immediately. Now, if you click somewhere else after creating the sketch will not be selected. It'll be gray like this, won't be highlighted. And if you start the extruded cut, you'll get a different prompt. Okay, it's useful to know that because sometimes you'll go into a command, it'll look one way, sometimes it'll look another way. As you get more familiar with SolidWorks, you'll see that SolidWorks is trying to help you out and letting you work intuitively, but at first this can be a little intimidating. So these are the 3 ways you can start commands. When I've got this dialog here, or this prompt here, you just pick on one of the sketch edges, and there you are. It'll find the profile and do the sketch. I don't want to go all the way down here. I'm going to set my distance as half of this, 0.7. So I'm going to set that to 0.35, and then hit enter. There's my preview. That looks good, halfway. Select OK. And there we are. Sketch is still selected. If I click somewhere in the drawing area, it goes away. Okay. Now it's going to be really hard to get the cards out. So let's create a little opening on the side. I'm going to start with, click on this face, and we'll create a new sketch using the new sketch command here. I could also click on the sketch tab and click on the new sketch command here. Usually two, sometimes 3 or 4 ways to do something in SolidWorks. To get this rectangle here, I actually want to start the rectangle a little bit off the edge. So I'm going to click here to create a corner rectangle. I'm going to click up here, intentionally away from the line, and down here away from the line. And then hit escape to stop creating rectangles. The reason I'm doing this is because I want to use this origin to do something interesting. So I'm going to pick this origin. Okay? And you see it's a little tricky to get it. Okay, it's because I'm in a rotated view. If you go into an orthogonal view, if I do normal too, it's easier to get the origin. SolidWorks sometimes from some orientations things are a little easier to get. So if you're trying to grab something, try changing your view to one of the cardinal views or one of the orthogonal views. So I'm going to pick on that origin point, hold down the Shift key, pick on this line, and when I do that, I have the option to set relations or set rules. I'm going to use the midpoint rule, and that'll lock the middle of this line to that point. Hit escape to stop creating rules, and this is what the result of that is. You see, when I move one side, it moves the other, so the middle of the line, center of the line, is always on that point. Okay. Next rule I want to create, I want this line to match up with this one. So I've got that one selected, hold down the Shift key, we'll pick this one, and we'll set them to be collinear. And you see it didn't move the line in three-dimensional space, it only moved it in the sketch plane. Okay? But they are aligned with each other. That means that this cutout is going to be the same depth as my cutout here. And lastly, I want to set this the length of this, or the length of this, I'm sorry. So right-click, select Smart Dimension, pick this line, come down here, and set that to be 1.5 inches. And now there's our fully constrained shape. Exit the sketch, do a extruded cut, and I want to go through all. Select OK, and there we are. Okay. I want to put my fillets on. I want to do fillets. I'm going to use a 1/4 inch tool, I think, to clear up the inside. I want this to be kind of a tight fit, so that means that my fillet radius, and because it's a 1/4 inch tool, my fillet radius has to be at least 1/8 of an inch. It'd be better if it was more, but to keep this kind of a tight fit on the inside, I can't. I really want to keep the radius as small as possible. So I'm gonna work with an 1/8 inch radius, and we're gonna see what that does when we go to cut it. Okay. So I'm gonna use the fillet command, and I'm gonna pick this edge as an item to fillet, and I get this flyout here, and allows me to pick different versions of the fillet, different types of it, and I want these connected. I want all these connected edges, and you don't have to know what each of the commands are, because if you hover over them, it'll highlight all the fillets that it's going to pick. This is the one I want. These are the fillet edges I want. So I'm going to pick there, and Solidworks goes and adds all those fillet radiuses in. Now, these are not the radius that I want. These are set to 0.1. So I'm going to do this to 0.125. And I've got full preview. Now, if you are seeing this or this, okay, what you want full preview, so you're going to click here like this. This is really good. If SolidWorks isn't able to show you a preview, it won't be able to create the fillet, so you can deselect things if you need to. Okay. All right, so this looks good. Select OK. And there's my fillets. All right, almost done. I got 2 more things to do. I want to put a chamfer. I want to do an engrave and put a chamfer on here. So let's do our chamfer first. Chamfer is right under fillet. Click there, select chamfer. And the items I want to chamfer, I want to chamfer this edge. This is way too much. 0.05 is my distance. Okay, and this edge here. And we want to pick this edge here and this edge here. And actually, you know, I forgot something here, so let me cancel the chamfer. And I forgot a fillet. So let's go here and right-click and edit our fillet feature. And from the items to fillet, I'm going to pick these vertical corners here. And I'm just going to add those to the existing fillet. Select OK. Much nicer looking block. Now let's do my chamfer. And I'm going to set my distance here to 0.05, so 50 thousandths chamfer. And for the items, I'm going to pick this edge and this edge. Again, full preview with tangent propagation. Shows you the entire chamfer. Select OK. This is a nice looking little piece. Okay, and lastly, I want to put my name on here. So I'm going to click on this face and click on Sketch. If I click on the face and I lose the menu, I can always go over here to Sketch and click on Sketch there. I want to get my name kind of centered here, so I'm gonna do a couple of things, and for that I do want to be in orthogonal view. So I'm going to hit space bar and go to normal 2. I'm going to draw a center line from one edge to the other. I want my letters to be about 3/4, and I want them to be centered. So let's put the letters in first. So click on text. I'm going to type in my name. Turn off use document font here. Click on font so I can type in my values. Now this dialog is kind of cramped, so you really kind of have to know what fonts you want, what their names are. There's other things in Windows that can show you that. I want Arial rounded. Okay. You can actually start typing the font name here and it'll highlight it. It's Arial rounded, and for the height in units I want it to be 0.75. Select OK. There's my letters. Okay. I can drag them around. If I select OK, it will create the letters, and then I can drag them around by moving that point. Okay. I want them centered, and it's a little easier, and a little more precise if I can center them on a line. And I can't put a line right through the middle, but I can have a baseline for them. So I'm going to draw my center line here, and we use a smart dimension to make this distance from the line to the origin, make this distance half of my letter height. So my letter height's 0.75. Make this 0.375, so 3/8. Okay. Hit escape to stop working with dimensions. Now I want to center this on there. I'm going to double click on the letters. I'm going to click this as the curve to follow. And then from the paragraph parameters here, I'm going to pick center. So now my letters are centered vertically and horizontally. Kind of a nice little trick there. Select OK. Click to deselect that, and then exit the sketch. And there we are. I'm not going to model this because I'm going to cut it. So I just want the edges so that I can cut them. But that's our part.